All right, so for the second half of the week, it's going to be very similar to the first half of the week. The only difference is we are factoring. So just to make sure that we still remember this stuff from before, I'm going to go over a vertex form parabola and a standard form parabola before we move into factored form. So for vertex form, I can pull the vertex straight out. Just remember to flip the sign of the number with x. And then, because it's at negative 4, 3, I know that it moved left 4, up 3 from 0, 0. I also know that because of A, it is a reflection because it's negative, and a compression because 1/2 is between 0 and 1, and that makes it wider. And that's kind of an ugly parabola, but whatevs. My domain for quadratics will always be all real numbers, and my range, everything is below the vertex, so I'm going to say that y is less than or equal to 3. For the standard form one, remember we're using the formula this time, which is x equals negative b over 2a. So to get the x of the vertex, I've got negative 4 over 2 times 2, which ends up just being 4 over 4, which is 1. For the y, I plug in what I got for x to the equation. And I get 2 minus 4, which is negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. So I get the point 1, negative 3. Here is the outline of standard form. I'm going to flip the sign of the x and put it with the x. The y goes at the end. And then a goes in front. So for graphing, it's at the point 1, negative 3. And since a is 2, we know that it's a stretch, which makes it narrower. So it looks something like that. Domain, as always, is all real numbers. And range, all of my points are above the vertex. So that means that all the y's are greater than or equal to negative 3. Okay. So here is what we're doing. As far as y-intercepts go, y-intercepts from standard form are very simple because I'm plugging in 0 for x, right? And 0 times anything is just 0, so it just becomes 0 minus 0 plus 4. So whatever c is in the equation, that is what the y-intercept is. Now, for the x-intercepts, what we are going to do is we are going to factor. All of these equations that I'm giving you this week are able to be factored. So remember, with factoring, you want to find two things that multiply to c and add to b. If they're these, I'm sticking to things where a is 1, so you don't have to factor out a greatest common factor. I just want to get used to like regular old factoring. So we have this. If you remember, I like making the list off to the side. The only things that multiply to 4 are 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. And the only ones that are going to give me 5 would be 1 and 4. So since I want negative 5 and positive 4, I'm going to make these both negative, right? Because if I add them together, I get 4, or negative 5, and if I multiply them together, I get 4. So for my intercepts, I set them each equal to 0, since y would be 0, and I just flip the sign. So this parabola touches the x-axis at the points 1, 0 and 4, 0. Okay, so let's do another one. With this one, So remember that if there's nothing there, it's like C is 0. So remember that C will be my y-intercept always. So that is going to be, my y-intercept is going to be the point 0, 0. Now, as far as factoring this, when there's two terms and they both have an x, the only thing you can really do is just factor out an x, okay? So x times x minus 8. Now that I have it factored, I set each factor equal to 0. The first one's already solved. This one, I just flip the sign. So this touches the x-axis at the points 0, 0, and 8, 0. Okay. So this one, remember that C is my y-intercept. So the y-intercept is going to be the point 0, 16. Because if I plugged in zeros for those x's, they would just go away. As far as factoring goes, I need two numbers that multiply to 16 and add to negative 10. So the things that multiply to 16, I got 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4, and that's it. So the ones that add up to 10 are going to be 2 and 8. And since I want negative 10, I'm going to make them both negative. So if I multiply negative 2 and negative 8, I get positive 16. If I add them, I get negative 10. So I'm good. So to find the x-intercepts, I set each one equal to 0. And basically just flip the sign. So this crosses the x-axis at the point 2, 0 and 8, 0. Cool. Okay. So this one. Again, I'm going to rewrite this. Whenever you have two terms, you got to figure out which one's missing. Remember that A always goes with x squared, B always goes with x, and C always goes by itself. So in this case, it's like saying x squared plus 0x minus 49. Okay, so this one and the one above it, like they're different. This one C was missing. This one B is missing. So for my y-intercept, that's going to be C, so the point 0, negative 49. And then for factoring, I need to find two numbers that multiply to negative 49 and add to 0. So this one, it's not too complicated because the only things that multiply to 49 are 1 and 49 and then 7 and 7. So it's going to be 7 and 7. Just make sure that because I want them to add to 0 and I want them to multiply to a negative, they're going to be different signs, right? So for my x-intercepts, I set each factor equal to 0 and then essentially just flip the sign. Now I will say, someone asks me this every year. It does not matter which order it goes in the factors. It just doesn't. So this crosses the x-axis at the points negative 7, 0 and 7, 0. So hopefully that's not too bad. We did a lot of factoring last week. If you did the work, the people who did the work did good. So hopefully this isn't too bad. I gotta go because my dog is whining and I think she's gotta go potty. So I gotta go let her out. But if you have questions, email me, ask me, let me know. And I'll be going over the practice this week with video as well.